information, updates on what has been happening in the economy as it affects the small and medium enterprises. Of course, we also have the micro and the nano enterprises that are currently feeling the heat across the country due to the economic policies of the current government. And we have our dear Group Managing Director, in the person of Mr. Godfrey Ajayi Sunday, to help us unravel some of these issues, beginning from the issue about the fuel subsidy, the issue about the Naira rain or Naira fall, issue about, solution, palliatives, and so much more. And so I want to urge you, as I introduce our GMD, to sit back, get a piece of pen and paper, and take some notes, because it's definitely going to share information that will be beneficial to you and your business. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Osai Lumen, social entrepreneur and serial networker. I'm happy to be part of today's session again, looking at the economy and its impact on the MSME subsectors. We have always agreed that the MSME is the driver of our economy. So,
yes.
But how to get it right has been
the challenge.
What the problem is. So, like you mentioned, today we look at fuel subsidy again in its totality. We look at the exchange rates. Okay, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, exchange rate has crossed the 1,000 Naira mark. Okay, and again, the argument today, whether there is subsidy or there is no subsidy, is something that we need to discuss. Of course, we move on straight to discuss other very critical issues, alternative energy, looking at CNG, looking at electricity. Then again, we go and talk about the big elephant in the room.
Yes, the Central Bank of Nigeria and Anchor Borrowers program.
So those are the things we'll be looking at. So just as Mr. Osai has urged us, let's sit back. In the course of talking, you may likely find solution to some of our problems.
Exactly. And
especially for the MSME, for you to be able to launch up.
Yes, so you will navigate these challenges. So, sir, I want you to look at this fuel subsidy in particular. There is this assertion, this belief that the president actually made a mistake. In your own understanding of how this thing is playing out, because if you look at the trajectory of Mr. President, he went to India, US, yes, US and UAE. Other countries. And even the United Nations General Assembly, one of his selling points is that he made these decisions. And that shows that he's willing, in fact, he's using this as a tool to campaign for foreign direct investment. But back home, people are seeing it as a mistake. What do you think?
There's a big subject we'll look at today, which is the cost of living. If you look at all this subject matter, I was listening to an analyst. He said, look, you dress from inside to go outside.
Yes.
You don't
That's very true.
You don't dress from outside.
But many people think that you dress, it is when you put on, dress you put on that makes you look beautiful.
Yeah, but it has to be done inside the house. Then you now go out.
That statement is deep.
Okay, so you don't dress from outside to come inside.
Exactly.
So our problem right now are mostly internal. Looking for direct investment is like number 5 in the hierarchy of trying to solve
the economic problems.
This economic problem. So if you go to number 5 and leaving number 1 to 4, then there is a mismatch. There is a problem. So today, what are those our basic problems? Number 1 is security. If you go outside to bring a big investor with big money and he ends up being kidnapped, do you think he will stay?
No.
So obviously he's not going to stay. So just like you have used the word, Mr. President means well, because from all his speeches, all his statements, he wants to solve the problem. But I think what is missing is the strategy.
Yes.
Okay? Once you need to have a strategy, and you have to evaluate that strategy before you deploy. Otherwise, if it's in a warfare, if it's in a military tactic, and you send your men without a strategy, And you're hoping that when they capture the people, that's when you start solving the problem. You may end up losing all.
Not seeing any method to use to.
So coming back home, Mr. President means well from
everything, the body language.
The body
of course, this president is not the body language guy.
So one of those mismatch, we'll still get to talk about that. I will start talking about CBN, the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. Is that now you have Yemi Kodoso, who is a fiscal policy expert.
Yes.
And you have Edu, who is a monetary expert. I mean, it's like using a left winger and asking him to go to the right wing. I know that they do that in football, but let's see what the outcome will be. But my challenge is what they call the 9 months, the 9 month strategy. That a woman will have to pass through labor. He has to carry that baby for 9 months, and she's going to bear the pains, and is going to suffer a lot before he gives birth, especially on the day of giving birth. But don't also forget that if the woman suffers for the whole 9 months, and on the 9th month is supposed to give birth, she now falls down and dies, then the whole essence is now defeated.
Yes.
So coming back to for a subsidy, the argument is there subsidy? Or is that, so that argument has been laid to rest on a subsidy, because again, on May 29, the president said, look, fuel subsidy is gone. That was, according to a lot of analysts, if I were him as a person, I would have done it in the span of between May 29 and December 31st. Do a gradual process. Because again, you remember in one of our programs, we argued that people's life are worse off today. We're in September now. Their life is worse off today than May 28. So that means fundamentally whatever
is being done.
Whatever is being done is not in the interest of the people. A lot of people have argued that, look, is the right course to remove subsidy? Yeah, I can ask you to go and kill somebody. There are a lot of ways you could kill the person. You can kill the person without him feeling pain. But you can make him to feel a lot of pain before you will kill him. Sorry, I'm using
that
analogies today. So first subsidy, there is no way that will keep the price will keep going up until we address the problem of exchange rates.
And now we are in a situation, because that is another argument people are making, that fuel subsidy has returned, because we're in a situation where the petroleum marketers are arguing that they can no longer also bring in this petrol at the agreed price, or as based on market forces, because our currency has suddenly been
devalued again.
Devalued.
Yeah, because the president made another pronouncement, unification of
exchange
rates.
Yes.
Okay, so what does that really mean?
On the same day.
What does that really mean? So it means that both the parallel market and the official market has to be at the same.
Yes.
Okay. So in those days, you could have a situation where, the moment there is disparity between
the official market and the parallel
market, that leads to arbitrage immediately.
Yes.
That leads to problem immediately. So for me, if we had maintained status quo as at May 28th, and we will have a phase program. What do I mean by phase program? I mean, part of dealing with exchange rate is to say, look, let's produce our oil internally. Let us solve our security problem. Today, sir, we are unable to meet up with the OPEC quota.
Yes. We were supposed to be doing about, I think, 1.3 or 1.4, and we're doing less than 1 million.
I think there's about 2 million.
Okay, yeah. We're supposed to be doing 2 points, and we're doing 1 point.
So the difference is being stolen.
Yes.
Okay, so today, there are some words I don't want to use on this screen, but essentially, if we produce our oil here internally, it may end up solving
the problem,
part of the problem. Because again, I got a news item that says that Dangote says that he's ready to produce now, but there is no crude for him.
Because we have mortgaged our crude.
So you see that the problem is big.
Multifaceted.
The problem is deep. It's deep. And
again, I mean, I don't understand. The Dangote aspect you mentioned, the issue is that NNPC Limited went to whether Indonesia or India or which country and took some billions of dollars.
Okay, about 3 billion?
About 3 billion.
To cushion the exchange rate. So that they can...
And yet, we're not seeing any impact of that.
Has the money been taken?
So if the money has not been taken, then why can't they issue Dangote crude? Because Dangote's argument is that...
No, that's a different transaction entirely. It's a different transaction. This one was that they were going to take a loan. Okay, so take a loan in dollars to be able to get them to bring in refined fuel. Okay, now already our crude has been mortgaged based on that language.
Yes.
So that means Dangote has to wait for another 6 months.
To liquidate that transaction. So, but my argument is that even the dollar that was taken has not also...
it has not been taken.
It has not been taken.
It has not been taken. You know, government make a lot of pronouncements. Like I said, from the beginning we mentioned strategy. Yeah, I mean, when you are doing a strategy, you have to, that's the game plan. You have to sit down and look at what could likely go wrong.
The pros and the cons.
Yeah, you look at it, what can likely go wrong? If it goes wrong, what am I going to do?
Yes.
So that is what I think this government...
What is the contingency?
So, and I feel that, okay, maybe the minister had not settled down. Nigerians, what is on ground? You must complete. I mean, there's nothing to... We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
So tell the people, look, you have to wait for... If it's going to be 6 months, tell them 9 months. So that if in 6 months they begin to feel that impact, they will believe you. So where we are going to now, if the government does not relate to us by telling us the truth and we get to find out the truth by ourselves, then it will lead to a problem of trust.
Of course, that trust has been suffering for a very long time.
So it's suffering, but by the time you lose it, it will be dangerous.
Disastrous.
So coming back to exchange rate, for the first time, our exchange rate hits 1,000. So there are so many ways to try to address. If we addressed the problem of exchange rates, half of our problem is solved.
Yeah. Because
just imagine today, you just wake up tomorrow now, and exchange rate is 500.
Wow. That would be like a new awakening. That would be like a new awakening.
Everything we just...
Because, you know, the simple truth, sir, if you talk with our technical team, they will tell you that even the little advert that they are supposed to even do online to improve their business, they can't even do anymore.
Yeah. They can't, because again, the biggest problem, if it's even 1,000, and we say in the next 2 years, it's going to be 1,000, people can plan. Okay, I woke up this morning to try to buy data. Data ordinarily I buy for 3,000. It's now 3,005. There was no announcement. Inflation is battling to cross 30% right now.
and so these are, you know, the old things that also bring about the issue of high cost of living.
Yeah, cost of living, yeah, definitely.
Because for a woman in the market, for instance, you know, you go to the market today and you get something at 2 naira, and because of what you have experienced the fact that, you know, the exchange rate is on a free fall. That if you go to a market today with a particular exchange rate, maybe say 700 naira, by the time you are going to market, it might be 750, it might be 800.
So everybody is reacting now, including the manufacturers.
Yes.
If you go and buy a sachet of, or let's even use the toothpaste, and they tell you that is maybe 5 kg, no, 5 kg is maybe tell is 500 gram. So you see a 500 gram pack, but what is inside is a 250 gram, and they are selling for the same price.
The same price,
or even
higher,
at a higher price. So ordinarily, my wife just woke up and said, look, the 12.5 kg that normally lasts for so period of time, it's now half of the time.
Half of that time.
So she was now querying that, is it that they didn't serve her 12.5 kg? So I reminded her about the energy alternative. I said, okay, there was a time, there was the grid collapse. Once that grid collapse happened, there was no electricity. So you now use more of gas to do what you are supposed to use your electricity for.
To do.
So that was what make your gas to finish.
but again, I think that could be right. But if you even look at the PMS, the fuel that you buy for your car, the combustion rate now
is higher.
is very high now. So, for instance, if you use 20 liters for maybe 3 days,
okay,
all right,
so
20 liters cannot take you for 2 days now.
Well,
while the cost is high,
the combustion rate
is also
high. Well, I don't have an answer to that. Maybe the experts will look into that. But again, when you go to an average filling station, people say that you buy from where you see the tax is buying from.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a filling station, anywhere you notice that the taxi guys are queuing up, go there. That is the correct pump. And the country has become so bad to the extent that you can have a filling station with 20 pumps. 10 of them are adjusted. And now, is there regulation?
So that is the critical issue. In the midst of all these problems, the different, agencies of government that are supposed to also be at alert, to help minimize, the damages, minimize the pain, minimize the taking of advantage of situations by certain business and certain individuals, they are also falling asleep.
Yeah, because again, labor is going on an indefinite strike.
And that is another disaster waiting to happen. Because if labor goes on strike,
indefinite, that's the language. And
what will happen?
And what they are putting before government, they are not things that government can solve immediately. But again, we need since we cannot have shadow government, we need a system that can put the government on their toes. So that's why, technically, I would say I'm in support of what the labor are doing to put the government right. Because again, out of pressure, government make a lot of statements that they don't mean. For example, they said by December, the Warri refinery is going to work. So why can't we leave the subsidy
till that time?
And there is no way, people are arguing now that there is no subsidy is back. And it's true.
Yeah.
Because if exchange rate is there and the marketers are saying that they cannot bring in fuel, and that means technically the price of fuel has gone beyond the 620 that they are selling now. So, and governments cannot, I talk a lot with my wife. I told her that, look, as we are today, government cannot increase the price of fuel. Because I can't even remember where we're coming from now, 620. Okay? 620. So, government is going to increase to 900. Man, that's like setting the country on fire. So, they cannot do it. So, they are looking for how to absorb that right now.
Yeah, the differentials in the foreign exchange.
So, let's hope that Yemi be able to work with Edu at the monetary and fiscal level to see how they can. But again, before we leave this subject matter of exchange and subsidy, there is nowhere in the world that government is not subsidizing.
And of course.
So now we can take the subsidy from fuel. Let's take it to agriculture. Because again, the richest people in America are the farmers.
And they are subsidized.
They are subsidized because today, I mean, like a friend of mine who live in the US said, oh, okay, when I was explaining how much America is subsidizing agriculture, he now said, okay, that is why anytime the farmers are having issues, they run to the president to say, look, what do we do? So for over decades of years, the price of agricultural food has become stable. Because again, maybe driving a car is a luxury. Of course, we don't have a good transport system in Nigeria. Otherwise, again, if there is a good transport system, why will you
be driving your car all the time
when you can enter a good distance? So, this subsidy we are talking about now, we need to take it to agriculture. That takes me back to Minister Adeshino, who is now the president of African Development Bank. there was a concept he was talking about, GES. For those who are familiar with agriculture, we remember this concept, the GES, and he was talking about giving mobile phones to all the farmers. And people criticize him that, look, I only want to give mobile phones. But again, if you wake up in the morning, and that's what America has been able to achieve, no matter how things are bad for you, you should be able to eat 3 meals a day. I don't want to use the word square, because 3 is not square. I mean, if you wake up, let me tell you the impact of eating well, food security. If you eat well, you will think well.
Yeah, that's true.
You become innovative. But a hungry mind is looking for trouble, looking for ways to cut corners. So if you look for a subsidy scheme for agriculture, for example, there is one that we developed. We call it the input-output scheme. So today, whether you support farmers or not, once rain starts falling, farmers will go to the farm. Okay, so what do you now do? Wait for them at the point of harvest and tell them that, look, bring in your output, which is your harvest. Then we'll give you inputs.
For the next season.
Yes. So you are now talking to the direct farmers now, because again, in Nigeria we have what we call the political farmers. So when the farmer brings in 2 bags of maize, for example, and you give him fertilizer and input that is maybe 2 times of what he brought in. So what you are succeeded in achieving, you have pushed out the input for them to produce, and you have gotten the output for you to feed the people. Then what do? You talk to the mills, the flour mills, the rice mills, the maize mills, and have a handshake with them to say, okay, there is 1 million metric ton of maize in Jigawa warehouse. Go and take it and turn it into corn flour and sell to the people. So before you have that kind of thing, you achieve stable price. So even if the price of fuel is going up, so you are the one who will now determine when to go out and how to go out. And thank God for data, thank God for technology.
Yeah.
Okay, so what that means is that you can work from the home. And it takes you back to this concept that you're trying to bring up now. Must we work 5 days in a week?
I mean, in the office.
In the office, which is correct. Must we do 5 days in a week?
In a week.
So,
because it all boils down, this fuel subsidy, the exchange rate, all boils down to the increment in cost of living. And when you talk about cost of living, the businesses are not exempted. The workers in these businesses are not exempted. Yeah. So how can a business now cope in terms of managing its workforce, and to be able to continue in business?
Yeah. So those are the things we're talking about. Essentially, government had to sit back. They had to open up to the people, tell them the truth, tell them where we are, let them feel where they are. Then promise them that, look, in the next 9 months, based on, science can predict that. You understand?
Of course, there are different models that
so it can predict. This is what will happen. So if it's going to be 6 months, tell them 9 months. And by the time you achieve it in 6 months, they will clap for you.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it becomes important for you as a business person. It's also crucial that you begin to, of course, you have been experiencing this, economic strangulation. And it's good that you also come up with, ways. Just like we're talking about government coming up with policies to navigate these challenges, you also need a policy. And so the first thing that we're going to be looking at the government is talking about is the CNG, alternative to
petrol.
Yes, with petrol.
And diesel.
Yes.
Because the diesel itself has hit 1,000 mark.
Yeah.
So we're setting world record, or Nigerian record. Dollar, first time has hit 1,000 mark.
Plus
diesel had hit. And not also forget that even the CNG is also going to increase. But again, the compressed natural gas is an alternative to everybody. And like we mentioned in one of our programs, if I were to be Mr. President, I would announce the first 1 million cars to be converted.
Funded by the government.
Funded by the government.
And so they should be able to have a mechanism of doing that.
Yeah. There should be a mechanism, okay?
At least for small businesses.
Yeah. So we can divide it across states. Look at states with high populations.
Or states with high number of small businesses.
Small businesses. Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Port Harcourt, Kaduna. So when you have that, you announce 1 million cars. The first thing you are doing is that you are encouraging the people
to go that route.
To convert. So now, then buses that must start coming in now must be on that route, commercial buses. I mean, of course, we're working for a client now who is bringing about 30 CNG buses to Abuja. So outside creating awareness, you will raise mechanics that will do that conversion.
Yeah. Out of
so that little
value chain,
job creation. Okay, the people that will sell the gases. Okay, so we are creating more employment. So all that will help you to balance the economy.
Yes.
Then we must also think beyond CNG. We have the natural solar that God has given us. And I tell people that, look, a technology that is not developed internally may not benefit you. We have lithium to do battery. We have sunshine to leverage on for solar. So if those buses, maybe they are CNG buses, their panel is solar. So as they're driving through the traffic, through the cities, they are getting charged. Then you must have a switching technology to say, okay, I have enough solar.
I can switch to solar.
I can switch to
CNG.
All those. So it's about thinking now. It's about technology now.
Because again, if you look at these things, especially the issue of the CNG, I don't think we are seeing any movement in that direction.
Yeah.
In the light of what you are saying.
Yeah. So that's why I said, look, 1 million car. That's the kind of good announcement that the government
should make. People are waiting.
We're doing 1 million. So you make that, then you now challenge yourself. Because sometimes as an entrepreneur myself, sometimes I make pronouncements that I don't think through. But I now walk through. I say, okay, I've made this statement to...
How do I actualize it?
How do I actualize it? So I put machinery in place. So you mentioned food security emergency. What happened after then?
Everything has lied down.
So when you mention 1 million cars, it's a challenge to you. So you have your ministers now to actualize it.
But again, this point you made is very, very crucial. He made food security emergency. And we are not also seeing movement.
So
minister has been appointed because one of the agreement we reached the other time was the fact that, okay, perhaps because the ministers are yet to, take office and all that. But now, at least we are getting to the ministers are
people say that from morning you will know how evening will be. Okay, we have a minister of agri now. For the past 2 months now, I've not heard anything from him.
No policy pronouncement.
2 months. 2 months.
So, but what do you think should be done in this regard? Because
I've just told you, government announced 1 million cars, set machinery in place to get that done.
No, I mean, in terms of, engaging with these ministers, because if for 2 months we're in a critical situation, Mr. President announced food security emergency, and here you have a minister of agri in 2 months have not made any policy pronouncement. I mean, that is deadly.
That is deadly, and again, how does agri work, which is still very rudimentary in Nigeria? We still talk about season.
Yes.
Wet season, dry season. I mean, the world has gone beyond.
Seasonal.
So let's even stay where we are. Today is September, so the produce for wet season are being harvested now, like September, October. So technically by December, the dry season will start. So we can solve our problem in 4 months. You know why? All the grains that God has given us in this country takes an average of 3 months to produce.
Wow.
From rice to maize to sorghum to millets.
Wow.
If you plant them in 3 months. But today, if you go and extreme all the irrigation schemes, majority of them in the north, majority of them are not working. So if you have a minister of agri who knows his onions, to say, look, in this December, for areas that we can, so profile the areas you can do your dry season immediately, and look at the commodities that you can produce, and mobilize the farmers immediately to go and start production. And I tell you, sir, if we can feed, if we can afford food, half of our problem is also solved.
It's solved.
Wake
Because
up in the morning, again, you're not struggling to
look for what to eat. You're not bothered about what to eat. Because, like you said some time ago, if you look at those developed economies, one of the things that makes their people, their citizens, to be a bit more creative, a bit more innovative, a bit more professional.
Yeah, it's because
this aspect of life has been taken away from them.
So subsidies should move from petrol
to agriculture. Because when you are not bothered about what you are going to eat, what you are going to feed your family with, you can concentrate that energy, channel that energy into
productive thinking.
Yes, to productive thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I listened to a video of a Nigerian who studied biochemistry at PhD level in South Africa. And ordinarily, if you ask your child to go and do chemistry, he will tell you that course is not lucrative. And I listened to this guy's PhD presentation and how he has been able to create chemical products as a result of his research. What people do is that they create laboratory. We don't have any laboratory in Nigeria. Commercial laboratory, privately owned and individually driven, where you can sit down and look at medicinal crops and look at how to extract chemicals that will solve cancer problem, that will solve issue of other problems. And
the labs we have in Nigeria are the labs that will test you for malaria, will test you for headache.
And that takes us to brother. Recently, Amaju Pinnick was trending on social media, football juggernauts, who is now doing well in agriculture. And what did he do? He said, just thought, okay, what do I do with the money I have? So he looked at locations, Ibadan. There's IITA research station that is in there. So collaboration with IITA went into tomato production, large-scale tomato production. What happens to these tomatoes eventually? Okay, sell fresh, turn into paste. He said he spoke to a Canadian laboratory. And they asked him a simple question. What is the most popular food in Nigeria? He said jollof rice. He said, okay. We turn your tomatoes into a paste that you parboil your rice and you mix them together and it turns to jollof rice immediately. So they went into research for 1 year. The private laboratory. They went into research and at the end of the day, they came up with something. And he said today his focus is going to be on the export market because of your rising exchange rate. So for him, produce locally and sell internationally to be able to take advantage of your rising dollar rate. And a very interesting aspect of that write-up was that he said, look, we didn't put oil in the condiments. He said, look, if we had put oil in it, it will reduce the lifespan from 1 year to 3 months. And again, if you look at the market analysis of Nigeria, our oil intake is not the same. Somebody from the south where probably takes a lot of oil. There are some people from the north do not take a lot of oil. So you apply oil according to your taste. So that is boys thinking deep. but
again, that is the future. That is how, when you talk about technology, that is what gives rise to technology.
So the point I'm raising that if you are feeding well, you have time to think.
Yes, you have time to think.
If make food available, food should not be a luxury. You understand what I'm saying now?
Right now, it's a luxury.
It is because again, you have moved from 3 meals now to probably once a day. So you look at when to eat that meal, and that didn't start today. When we're in the universities, we run either 101 or 100. Those formulas are not necessary. You should be able to eat when you want to, when you're hungry.
To eat.
So there are quite a number of problems the government needs to deal with.
I don't know. I don't know. We are not really seeing any movement in terms of, like I used to say, a moonshot, drive, a moonshot project that the government is taking on.
Because I was talking about wet and dry season. I didn't finish that thought. Wet, dry season. But let me tell you that agriculture is done anytime there is water and anywhere there is water. So when it's dry season, they make use of the water.
Irrigation.
Yeah, make sure irrigation or wherever water is available.
Yeah.
But again, the mass of water at the bottom of the earth is more than the physical
water.
The earth's surface itself.
Yeah, that's true.
So if we go spiritual or biblical, Isaac sowed in the land because he would seek irrigation to try to, do his crops.
Yes.
And the Philistine envied him, and they will go and start closing those wells. So it means that anywhere you have water, agriculture starts immediately. So it doesn't have to be wet and dry, sir. And you just open up the ground.
Anytime.
Control the water. People are talking about Lado Dam. They will open Lado Dam, water will come, and there will be flood. Man, we need thinkers.
But now that brings us to the issue of the CBN and the Anchor Borrowers program, because good thinking brings out good products, or good thinking brings out good solutions. So what we were supposed to have the Anchor Borrowers program as a major, solution to our agricultural sector. But that's not happening.
Yeah. So the Anchor Borrowers program, vis-a-vis the credit guarantee scheme, was supposed to end or solve our food problem. Okay, and let me take time to explain again what the Anchor Borrower program means. Anchor means something you can anchor on.
Yeah.
Okay, like a ship, they have an anchor. When they come to the distance, you place the anchor
to the dockyard
to get it. So the anchor are supposed to be MSMEs. Rice mill, flour mills, somebody who needs raw material to be able to offtake for him to convert to
products,
finished products. So they are essential component in value chain, agricultural value chain, if you call it. So beautiful and well thought out program. Okay, so now the banks are supposed to lend to the anchor, talking about these millers, talking about the off-takers. So when they lend to them, they will now go to their area of strong points and work with the relevant stakeholders, the farmer, if you like, to say, okay, you are producing maize. I need maize for my flour mill. So I need 1 metric million. So you engage 1 million farmers to produce maybe 2 or 3 metric tons per hectare for you. Then the commercial bank or the microfinance bank are supposed to give you that money so that you give to them, give them input to produce for you. When they produce for you, you now go back to go and give them, you pay them for what they have given you. You now turn that into products. That was the original
plan
concept of the Anchor Borrowers program. Okay? Unfortunately, because of lack of trust, the commercial banks refused to engage. There was an institution called the NISA PLC, Nigerian Incentive Risk.
An offshoot of CBN.
CBN is a subsidiary of CBN. They themselves were not supposed to give out money directly. CBN anywhere in the world is not supposed to give money to anybody. NISA in itself was supposed to be a credit guarantee scheme. What does that mean? An anchor wants to produce a particular commodity. They have to look at that value chain and fix it and give a guarantee to say, look, we have worked with this anchor. We know that it's producing maize flour, and we know that if he has 1 million metric tons of maize, he's going to be able to turn it around. So based on that, on their careful analysis, they endorse that document. Then the commercial bank will now go ahead. Because again, commercial bank, microfinance bank, development bank are in the They're in the business of
lending money.
That's not the
business of CBN.
It's not the business of CBN.
Or it's subsidy.
And that's why today I also cry when a state governor comes out and tell you that I want to disburse loan. Is that why you are a governor? It's not your responsibility. So if you have 1 billion to help your people, what do? Take that money and give it to a bank that you trust to disburse on your behalf. So CBN missed it by going into direct lending. And of course, it was deliberate, sir. Why did I say it was deliberate? When people want to do things and they look that they are going to have problem in doing that, because commercial bank is highly regulated. There is a law, the BOFIA law now, Banking and Other Financial Institutions Act. It says that, look, every loan that you give out must be collateralized.
Yes.
So even as a director in a commercial bank, you are allowed to borrow. But if you are going to borrow, you are going to provide the collateral such that if you are unable to pay back, what happens? Your collateral will go for it. But CBN is borrowing out billions of naira. Without collateral. So what do you think will happen?
Terrible.
Fela mentioned Paddy government. He mentioned that long time ago. Paddy. So if I want to do something like this, I bring in my paddies. I disburse that money because there is not going to be collateral involved. So as we talk, we're going to be providing solution now. What should the new CBN do? Strictly monetary. How do you bring down the exchange rate? How do you ensure that the banks are doing what they are supposed to do? Regulation. Monetary policies. Looking at interest rates. How do we bring it down? How do we bring down the exchange rate?
How do we handle consumer behavior, consumer purchasing power?
And all those things. That's what they should be doing. And of course, if you go to China, their economy was driven by development banks.
Import, export, Chinese bank.
Okay. You talk about development bank, you talk about Bank of Agriculture, talk about Bank of Industry, just we will have them here in this country. Because they are on the field. But today, sir, let's take Bank of Industry. We had relationship with them at some point in time. If you call the Bank of Agriculture today, they are supposed to deal with the agricultural side of the MSMEs. Abi?
Are they still in existence?
Okay. Our audience will provide an answer to that. You ask them a simple question. The mistake that people make is that agric in itself is still an MSME. It's still a micro, small, medium enterprise. You ask them, so give us a database of all the farmers in Nigeria.
They will have it.
You have a bank that is not using technology to be able to attend to their farmers. I mean, look at the small fintech right now. I mean, there is one of them I subscribe to. Do you know what? Is helping me with accounting at the background. At the end of the day, at the end of the month, I check how much money did I invest on data. How much money did I invest in electricity? It's giving you the breakdown to tell you that, okay, you are overshooting. I mean, that's technology. So you have a Bank of Agriculture today that does not have the database of his clients. You should be able to give us breakdown. That's where we are now, sir. To say, look, there are about 1 million micro farmers in Jigawa State. There are about 500 medium farmers. There are about 200 million farmers. Basic statistics, big data, generate it and use it to take decisive decisions.
That is the world we are living in now.
We now move on to Smidan.
They have moved to a new office now.
Wow.
So I think we should celebrate them for that.
So at least they were able to do a research.
For how many years now? That was 2013.
Yeah, that told us that we have over
34 million MSMEs.
About that number of MSMEs. What is their needs?
What is their need?
What is their problem? How do we solve those problems? You have a Bank of Agriculture today. Our celebrated development bank. This thing, well,
Development Bank of Nigeria.
Doing well in their own right, but they could do better. Because again, if we want to score them, we score them based on how many enterprise have you raised?
Yes.
What is their product in the market? What impact are those products having? Then again, we talk about development bank. What does that mean?
And we have all these multiple banks, and yet the biggest challenge of MSMEs in Nigeria
is still there.
Is still access to funds and access to technical support services.
So that they must come to work together. They must come to work together.
So I think it becomes a responsibility, because I don't think they're thinking in that direction. All of them are working in silos. They're working in silos.
So you must
have the Bank of Agriculture working.
You must take the population and break them down. Basically, what they are trying to serve is the MSMEs. So you find MSMEs in the manufacturing, you find MSMEs in the agric, you find MSME in the other sector. So we come down and say, okay, the number of MSMEs are 34 million. About 20 million of them are doing agriculture. About remaining 20 million are in the other sector. Okay, so what do they need? A joint research.
Yeah.
What do they need? They need this, that. They should work together. There should be a synergy department in each of those development agencies. So once you can able to, and SMIDA should be able to do that. But today, if you write a SMIDA DG a letter, he will not reply.
He's busy trying to look for which governorship, which party is going to give him governorship ticket. That is what all of them are doing. The moment you are giving any portfolio in any government agency now, your next big thing is which political office you are going to contest for, and you see them begin to jostle among the political powers in their state or at the federal level.
So that's where we found ourselves. We want to talk to the CEO today. Don't be discouraged. Keep doing what you are doing. It's tough because I'm a CEO myself, and I know what I passed through trying to remain in business. Most importantly, looking at the macroeconomy, that's where the government comes in, looking at monetary and physical side of that. If you get all that right, today, sir, people are trying to japa only for one reason. If they get there, they get employment. But once they get employment, they get paid to be able to pay the bills. But today, the bills are staring us in the face in Nigeria without an employment to pay for those bills.
Yeah.
So it will soon hit the rock. But God will help us.
Amen. On that note, dear viewers, I want to thank you for joining us on this session. Don't forget, this is CEO G Connect Forum, where we try to bring the issues to you.